So gas prices, everybody, have been skyrocketing in recent weeks, and President Biden has also warned that they could continue to climb. Newsom did not go into detail of what his proposal would be, but senior advisor Myers said it would be a rebate that could total billions of dollars, and the rebate will be limited to those who have resided in California. Now, Americans all across the nation are also feeling the cost of war as they head to the gas pumps. Gas prices have not yet reached record highs when adjusted for inflation, but they are the levels not seen since 2008. According to Brian Deese, the director of the White House's National Economic Council, the Biden administration is looking at everything we can do to mitigate the impacts here at home, including the gas pump. So a proposal from Senator Romney would restart monthly payments for millions of people. Unlike previous stimulus efforts, Romney's plan could put work requirements in place for millions of recipients. The Family Security Act would provide monthly benefits of up to $350 a month for families with children, $250 per month with children ages 6 to 17. The maximum monthly payments for families would be $1,250. Romney's legislation differs from the child tax credit in that his plan includes work requirements. NBC News reported that the new work requirements are a part of the legislation, though exact details were not available. The threshold for state-level benefits is at least 80 hours of work per month for a comparable amount of job training and/or volunteer work. According to NBC News, the Family Security Act would also eliminate certain aid programs and make major changes to the tax code. The Utah senator has worked with fellow Republicans on the legislation, though it had bipartisan support as more Democrats have been in conversation with Mitt Romney. So when asked about the bill, Romney told reporters, "This is the time for our commitment to families to help them meet the challenges they face, as they take on the most important work any of us will ever do." The proposal offers a path toward greater security for America's families. What do you think about Mitt Romney, everybody, and his proposal on this? Do you approve of him or do you not? Tell me in the comments down below. Now we have some finally great news about the fourth stimulus check. So since the crisis is still impacting millions of people across the nation, Democrats and Republicans have decided to team together and propose a new stimulus relief plan. This new legislation will make sure all Americans eligible for a $2,000 stimulus check will get the payment. And folks, this is something we definitely want to see. We want to see $2,000 stimulus checks be approved like President Biden said he would approve it. The U.S. Census Bureau, everybody, has renewed calls for programs to put money directly into the pockets of Americans. So far, more than 80 congressional lawmakers have urged the inclusion of a fourth stimulus check right now. Right now, everybody, there is currently a petition on Change.org, and it's calling on President Biden to enact a $2,000 stimulus check every single month until the crisis ends. The White House has received over 3 letters from congressional lawmakers urging the inclusion of another stimulus check, a recurring stimulus check that is, until the crisis ends. There are proposals for automatic stabilizers and legislation for recurring payments that have been introduced in House Representatives. There has also been a surge in calls for recurring payments and universal basic income. House Representative Pramila Jayapal, the chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, wrote in a recent Twitter post that putting money into people's pockets works, and we can and must continue to enact people-first priorities and improve people's lives. If anything, everybody, she said that survival checks prove that what advocates have been saying and demanding. Their voices were joined by Representative Ilhan Omar, who told reporters a case study for implementing universal basic income, as well as Senator Bernie Sanders with a message, yes, government can and should continue to address the needs of working people, not just the 1%. So according to the ABC Act legislation, it would send out $1,000 recurring monthly payments for an additional year after the crisis. According to an official statement, the automatic boost to Communities Act would uplift unbanked and underbanked people whose cost of living has risen but their wages have not. Folks, still, the need for more stimulus aid to pay their bills and purchase groceries and keep a roof over people's heads is a necessity. Rashida Tlaib also cited polling that found bipartisan support for universal basic income. A study said that 66% of respondents in a survey supported the recurring payments, including 52% of Republicans. And now, everybody, many of you are upset about the IRS. It has been reported that many Americans are still missing their refund checks from the IRS. And everybody, the IRS is a huge mess this year, thanks to a crisis that is entering its 3rd year, a decade of budget cuts and out-of-date technology. So millions of taxpayers are still waiting refunds from last year, part of a paperwork pileup that the agency is still struggling to get a handle on. Now, new legislation, everybody, has just been passed in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Lawmakers have reached an agreement on the new government funding bill just before the deadline. The bill includes many big changes for millions of Americans, including seniors and Social Security beneficiaries. The IRS is working on sending out more relief funds to make sure everybody gets it. So if you want to know the latest stimulus check information, then continue watching this video. Chuck Schumer, in a floor speech this morning, said touted the billions of dollars in crisis relief aid in the bill and pointed to it as a pressing reason for the Senate to quickly pass the massive spending bill. Now, I know many of you are wondering what this bill actually includes and how it will benefit the American people. Well, everybody, the spending bill will provide funding through fiscal year 2022, which started in October. Lawmakers have been negotiating over the legislation for months and have pressed stopgap funding bills to keep the government running in the meantime. That means federal agencies have been funded at 2021 levels for the past 5 months. The spending bill will provide $12.6 billion for the IRS and an increase of $675 million, the largest since 2001. The funding boost is intended to help IRS improve its customer service.
To welcome so many advocates for working women this Equal Pay Day. Let us salute our hosts, their two co-chairs of the Democratic Women's Caucus, Congresswoman Jackie Spear of California and Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence of Michigan. And thank you to the Secretary, Mr. Secretary. It's an honor to welcome you to the Capitol because you are such a devoted champion for working families. And Wendy Chun-Hoon, Director of the Labor Department's Women's Bureau. We'll hear from her. Sarah Jane Glynn, Senior Advisor of the Women's Bureau. These women, these leaders in the Labor Department are so focused on this important issue. And our very VIPs today, I know everybody will understand with all the respect I have for our guests that I introduced. Our VIPs today are Leah Rambo, Training Director of Smart Local 28, and Bethany Foto, an advocate for family values at work. They have the stories of America's working families. And as we know, today marks the day when women's wages catch up to men's income from last year, a gap of 83 cents on the dollar. I said to our friends earlier, before I had to take this call, that can you imagine one of these days young people will look back and say, can you believe there was a time when women did not make the same amount of as men did for the same work? Again, this disparity cost more than $400,000 over a career. Imagine what that means in money for rent, bills, food, groceries, lower credit scores, and costlier loans. And it has a big impact on women's retirement. We hear the Labor Department is releasing a report that found that the pandemic compounded these inequities, especially for mothers and women of color. Last year, the Democratic House proudly took action to help right this wrong by once again passing Chair Rosa DeLauro, one of their